I have the
Point
floor.
of order.
Wait.
Point of order. Let him speak.
One person at a time. The mayor even suggested it.
Don't tell me what to do.
Manager Walsh.
I'm a trustee as well.
Manager Walsh.
Stop.
You guys.
This is ridiculous.
You know, I said this in the last...
I have the floor. I have the floor, sir. I have the floor. I'm asking a question.
Talking over everyone isn't going to win.
I have the floor. They're talking over me, sir. Thank you. Well, it's just one more meeting that she's gone from because there's been 4. So,
Good night. Merry Christmas.
are we affecting any families, or are there any increases that we are affecting by this freeze, sir?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Wait.
Nobody knows that. Nobody knows
He
it.
knows it.
You
He's
can
the
tell
village
future.
manager.
I've got the floor now. Can you tell the future?
We control the future, sir. We make the budgets.
I'll tell you what,
If you don't make the budgets, you're in trouble.
Control,
If you don't make the budget, you're in trouble, sir. And you know what? I am sick and tired of the people and the residents getting taxed to death.
They're not getting
And you're
taxed to
adding to it, sir. We are fixing it.
I'd like to ask a question.
like you
Nobody
fixed all the rest of the stuff.
nobody
Yes, sir,
seems to
we
be
did.
noticing on here.
And what you're talking about childish? Look what you're doing. You're leaving a meeting that you're holding.
You already won't let us do the levy, so
Instead of-
why do I
We're
need
not
it?
doing the levy. We're not
And that
taxing
levy
the
would have
people.
affected how many people? How many
Excuse me,
families? It would have
board,
affected
please.
every single family in Homer Glen.
Okay.
Not just 41 employees.
Trustee Pazmino, Trustee Consolino, instead of arguing over a point that has absolutely nothing to do at this point in time with the ordinance being considered, first of all, the ordinance has a termination date of the end of June of 2022.
Correct.
Your budget is not, if I'm not mistaken, your budget will not be approved any sooner than May 1st of 2022, and quite possibly may not be approved until after that period of time. So the salaries can't be raised in any event, all right, without your permission, and this ordinance allows for that latitude if it's necessary. So with that being said, the point has been made by Trustee Rodgers and by the mayor and by yourself. There's a motion on the floor. I would suggest that the clerk call the roll, have the ordinance voted on, and then the next order of business will have to be for you all to appoint.
Are we not allowed to speak anymore?
Oh, I'm sorry.
We want to make sure we have
I didn't realize you hadn't
discussion,
spoken
though,
yet. I
please.
apologize. I didn't realize you hadn't spoken.
All right, Trustee Nicole La Ha, go ahead.
Thanks, Ruben.
You're welcome.
I think this is getting to the point where this is ridiculous, where we're speaking over each other and we're yelling at each other.
Well, usually when people have the floor,
Excuse
they
me, I'm
talk.
speaking.
Go ahead.
We all have that right to speak, okay? I mean, this is getting ridiculous up here. We're missing the point of why we're here. We're here to do things for our village. We have good intentions, and it's getting lost in this arguing. It's getting lost in the back and forth and this banter. We're talking over each other. We're screaming at each other. I'm embarrassed right now. I mean, for Christ's sake, we're adults.
Can I say something, Nick?
Can I say something regarding this motion?
Go ahead and finish, hon.
Okay. I did do research on this. I know we had until Friday, but I take this very seriously. I took time away from my family and researched this particular motion. This is not uncommon to do when villages are having budget crisis. This is not uncommon to do for corporate. This is not uncommon. This is not to dampen anyone's Christmases or bonuses or anything. This is to make sure that our finances are in order. We have some problems, clearly, and we need to make sure we figure out those problems before we continue. We are in charge of a village. This is not a club or an organization with 5 people. This is very serious, and I understand why this is happening. This is happening so we can get our finger on the pulse. This is not to hurt people or to make this even political in any way sense of this. So I think it's really important that while we take this time, it's not to punish people, but it's actually to do our homework. I think it needs to be discussed why this freeze is important, instead of yelling at each other and leaving the room.
I agree with you, Trustee La Ha. I think it was kind of aggravated by some of the comments of the other trustee to inflame and maybe put in the mind of the residents and the employees that there was going to be a problem. As far as I can see, and I've also done my homework, I've been involved in the corporate environment for many, many years of my life, and there have been hiring freezes pay freezes, and this is temporary. It's for 6 months. And according to the village manager, Matt Walsh, it will not affect any raises. It's not going to affect the employees. So mainly, what it's kind of doing is putting hiring on hold temporarily. So that temporary hold is not going to hurt anybody. Verified once again by our village manager, acting village manager. And I think that you're absolutely correct, Trustee La Ha.
Out of my 19 years' experience working for Cook County and the Cook County Sheriff's Department, and I'm sure Rose would agree to this, this was normal practice when there were budgetary issues. And to date, we've been presented with 0 options for cutting budget or looking at things and evaluating them. So because we've been given 0 options, wouldn't you agree, Trustee La Ha?
Absolutely. I have nothing to go on. I have nothing. We need to do budget cuts, but we don't have any of that information.
No. This is not meant to hurt the community, just like the fact that we chose tonight to not even have on the agenda the option for a tax levy increase, which makes our mayor and Trustee Rodgers and our staff very unhappy with us. That's something that we can live with. We feel like we're being fiduciaries on your behalf. You are more important to us than their opinions. And anyone who has watched these meetings or sat in these meetings with me have watched me get abused repeatedly by Mayor Yukich. But Trustee Rodgers has not done it, but the mayor does it pretty much every single meeting. And I always sit here respectfully and professional, and it gets a little tiresome, and it beats me up for, things that I'm trying to say that are the truth on all of your behalf. So when he goes off the rails like this in politics and does theatrics, same thing with Trustee Rodgers, I'm sorry that I have to call. I'm not sorry. If I'm going to call the vote, I'm doing it for the right reasons, so that there's no further grandstanding, no more unprofessionalism by our board members. People don't need to see that, and I'm sorry that you do, and for those of you that showed up tonight, I apologize again for that. That is not my intention or anybody that is presently sitting on this board. So, if you want to hate us for calling the vote and moving public comment, then so be it. But we're doing it for your benefit as well. So, thank you.
Legislative Council, please. Being that we are absent the mayor and the pro temp mayor, I know we have to call the vote on this yet, but usually the mayor calls the vote to the clerk. We're absent both. Your advice as to how to proceed?
You will need to appoint a temporary chairperson from amongst your membership, but the mayor was in his seat at the point in time when the motion was called and motion was moved and seconded. There is discussion, unless there's additional discussion with respect to this ordinance, you can conduct a roll call on this particular ordinance. So, unless there's other discussion from any of the members of the board.
I have one thing to say. Our commitment when we got into these chairs to the people that voted us here where we are now, was that we were not ever going to raise a property tax. We were going to do whatever it took, chopping, cutting, investing, easing up on ordinances, whatever it took to make sure that the property owner in Homer Glen never, ever gets an increase on our watch. It's very easy and lazy, in my opinion, to go ahead and raise a tax and put it on the back of the taxpayer.
That's right.
God bless the person who does not do that, because you pay a fee for your house, you pay interest on your mortgage, and then on top of that, you're gonna pay a tax? And for those two to go ahead and throw it on there and make us look like we did something wrong? Not on our watch. We promised you that during the election, and we will keep going on that. And that's all I have to say.
Well, I'd like to say something.
Has everybody spoken?
No.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We're up here because we care about where we live. We care about this village. We care about the residents in this village. Everybody has worked so hard over the last couple of years, and everybody has suffered over the last couple of years. And the last thing our residents need is more money tacked onto their real estate. I mean, most people can't even afford to pay their mortgages these days. So us being up here and fighting, we're fighting for you. We're not fighting for ourselves. Yes, we're fighting for us because we are residents of this village and we want the best for this village, but we don't feel that it should come on the backs of the residents. We've had enough. Last year was enough. After everybody had gone through the pandemic and she wants to talk about a lump of coal in their sock, 1.5 million municipal tax voted in last Christmas.
December 9th, last year.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, that was a lump of coal in somebody's sock, believe me. That's all.
Is everybody spoken then? I'd like us to call the roll then.
I don't know where I left off, I apologize. Trustee Pazmino.
Aye.
Trustee La Ha.
Aye.
Trustee Fialko.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee Reynders.
Aye.
At this point in time, per your rules, you need to appoint, unless one of you, I don't know if one of you is the elected mayor pro tem.
No,
That was Trustee Rodgers.
Trustee Rodgers.
And that being the case, you need to make a motion to appoint one of your members as the chair, temporary chairman, to conduct the remainder of this meeting. That person that is appointed can vote as well as a trustee.
Thank you, Carrie. I'd like to make that motion to appoint the senior
That's fine.
trustee. In this case is Trustee Pazmino.
Second.
In the title that you said that I had to
Temporary chairman of the meeting.
separate chairman of the meeting. So I'd like to appoint Trustee Pazmino as separate chair to the meeting.
Temporary chair.
Temporary chair to the meeting. And
Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Reynders, or Trustee Reynders.
Rose did first.
Any discussion?
Do I have to do a roll call, or can they just do all in
Roll
favor?
call
Okay.
on the motion to have Trustee Pazmino
Sure.
sit as temporary chair.
Trustee Fialko.
aye.
Trustee Reynders.
Aye.
Trustee Consolino.
Aye.
Trustee La Ha.
Aye.
Trustee Pazmino.
Aye.
Okay, Trustee Pazmino, you can remain in your chair.
I don't want to sit there.
Okay. It's entirely your
Thank you,
prerogative.
sir.
Okay,
You
so
have you have public comment at this point in time, and then the last item on your agenda, excuse me, last item, then you also have the tax levy ordinance that you need to consider. So at this point, I guess you would go back to public comment because you have not moved to present item number 7 in advance at this point in time. So that
Thank you,
would
sir.
be appropriate. So you can open it to public comment.
Yes, sir. We'll proceed with public comment. We have Mr. Ben Benson.
Well, howdy, neighbors. Mayor Straight, City of Lockport. Wanted to come out tonight and talk a little bit about the $820,000. That was the compensation for assets. This is something that George and I and staff have been negotiating with our staff for quite some time. There seemed to be some concern from council members about that number. We came out here to talk about it and see if there was any substantial reason why it should be anything other than the number we've presented. I'm not sure that it's going to be productive. So we were going to have this conversation, and if there was any, it wasn't going to go anywhere, our counsel was ready to just go ahead and put the lawsuit forward and just let the lawyers work it out. That's fine. I think that's probably the best thing to do, is just go ahead and let them work it out. Our counsel's already authorized that. So that way, that can get back to you folks, and you can understand why the $820,000 that we've put forth for us, and I think there's another $29,000 for the New Lenox, and then like $300.
Yeah, it's 300 for Lamont.
So I just think that's probably going to be better. I'm not comfortable here talking about it without the mayor present, because he's the one that we've discussed all this with over the last 9 months. So I think that'll be the best thing for us all to do. I will leave this packet of information. We had put these out here for discussion. I will leave these with you. You guys can look through it as well. This is the reasons why we have that number. We feel that it's fair. It even was came down a little bit after negotiations with George. We had previously had it at 1.1. We had agreed to this lower number, but again, I think that's probably the best way to go about this. So I will leave this with someone that you guys can pass this out. Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, so thank you for your time, and so that's how we'll move forward on our end is we'll just let the lawyers work it out. I think that'd probably be the strongest way to do it.
Thank you for coming out.
Okay, thank you.
More than enough to go around.
I'll pass on this one.
Thank you, Mayor Straight. Thank you, Mr. Benson. Next up, we have Mr. Stephen Wood.
Hello, good evening. Steve Wood, I'm one of the owners at Mugshots here in town.
Thank you.
There's been rumbling through some of the other restaurant owners around town about the item that was thrown on about the gaming. I've been sitting here trying to look on my tiny phone, trying to read through it. I didn't have a chance to go through it before I came here today. I did see some things in there, removing the space restrictions, removing the time frame it takes to wait to get the gaming. We have to go through all that. We even paid an extra year of our liquor license in order to get the gaming in a timely fashion. It will dilute. I think rushing through this without public comment is not right. It will dilute some of the business that we have coming into our restaurant and the other restaurants that have gaming. You've got, I'd say, 3 gas stations within 4 blocks of our bar. And if that starts moving on where they all get it too, because they will, if they can get it, they will, that will dilute people from going into our place. They come in, they drink, they eat, and they come in and game, and they're there several times a week. Some people are there quite steady. If they've got other options, they may not come in. I think it's also kind of odd that 2 restaurant owners that don't have gaming are voting for this when it's not impacting you at all. If anything, it may pull people out of our restaurants. They'll go game at the gas station, and they'll go eat someplace else. That's all I had.
May I address the gentleman at the podium, Your Honor?
Sure.
Steve, I would just like to make the comment that I haven't had gaming in any of our businesses either. But what I would say is that gas station down at the southwest quadrant of Homer Glen is pretty far away from all the rest of the businesses that have gaming. And you may be true. It could happen, what you said. But I'm looking at it from the perspective that it's way off, kind of like the beaten path, away from the restaurants that are in our village. And therefore, I kind of see it, that's the way I was looking at it. So I just want to maybe throw that out there to say that maybe that won't affect your business as much as you think it will.
A lot of gas stations that have little restaurants inside them or connected to them, they would have to follow all the same rules that we have to follow. Why couldn't they have to follow those rules?
Yeah, but do we have any of those restaurants right in the vicinity? We don't have any right on 143rd. We don't have any gas stations that are serving food or have a liquor license. We don't have any of that. The only one that would relate to would be on 159th off of 355. Because they would have to put that in there in order to be able to have gaming. And I think with, some of these gas stations are so overcrowded, I don't think that you would have to worry. I mean, you've got Nick's, and you've got, by us, we have that Dottie's. You know what I mean? So I think people will go to your place because they like your place, they like your food. I mean, we all go there. So I really don't think you have anything to worry about.
And one more thing, keep in mind, and believe me, I hear exactly what you're talking about. I've talked to some of these gaming people, and I would rather keep them in Homer Glen than have them go across the street to Lockport and spend that money. If a choice of them fueling is gaming, I would rather have them on this side, and also pretty much anybody who's opening a restaurant with a liquor license is gonna get gaming. So that's basically saying we can't have any more restaurants with liquor licenses. So, there's enough people for everybody. No, absolutely.
Absolutely,
100%.
absolutely.
Yes.
I think what's being overlooked here, just a little bit though, is our effort to show that we did our homework and we're trying other ways than to tax the residents of Homer Glen so it is not on a tax property bill. Of course, nothing's going to be 100% perfect for everybody every time, right? But the idea is to not increase the taxes on the residents of Homer Glen. And this is to show that we are making an effort. Now, these are just a few things that we can do. One of them is temporary, but to bring in pass-through taxation like that, it doesn't affect the residents, is probably the better way. Now, if it ends up affecting you in the long run, I don't see why we can't come back to it. There's no reason we can't come back to do that. But as far as saving the residents of Homer Glen a tax on their property, where that affects the sale of their house, that affects every, if they want to sell the house, and then the taxes are high, the water bill is high, it makes it hard to be able to do that. So I think in an effort to find other ways to do our homework, to not raise the taxes, is what we're looking to do. We're not looking to harm anybody in that process. So this is just one of several ways that we're going to try and make things work in this village without taxing the residents.
Steve, you spoke on Halloween. You came out to the meeting about the push and pull tax, and we did take you and everyone else into consideration about how it would affect your business. So, and yeah, that was us. We were all here, and I want you to understand that, and I did say it at the end, nobody probably listened, but that we were trying to explore options because we knew that we had budgetary issues coming ahead, and we were really honest about it. So, just remember, with any ordinance, we can amend it. We can change it, we can get rid of it, we can do a lot with it. We're a very willing and flexible board on true issues, so I would hope that meeting would have shown you that. So all we're requesting is just to give a chance, and then let's see how this goes, and then we could always revisit it, okay? Thank you.
I just want to make a point. We won't be taking away any licenses when you say amended. No. Well, right, okay.
No, correct.
Once we issue a license, that's it. You got your license.
Yes.
All right.
Can I make one comment? Not the only type of gas station that will be allowed to obtain a video gaming license is one that fits the definition of a licensed truck stop, which has very, very restrictive requirements. The first is that it's at least 3 acres. That it has separate diesel islands, that it sells at least 10,000 gallons of diesel or biodiesel per month, and that it has parking spaces for commercial motor vehicles that are as defined under the Illinois Vehicle Code. Otherwise, the only other types of businesses allowed are those that would actually mix or pour your traditional bar without a restaurant or tavern without a restaurant. But not every gas station in the village is going to be allowed to do this. So I hope that explains that for you, sir. Okay?
Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks, Carrie. All right, that does it for public comment. So I guess next we'll be going into executive session?
No, you have to.
Oh, number 7.
You still have to consider.
I really don't want to raise that.
Big deal.
All right.
Before we did that, were we going to go back to public comment and then do 7?
You've already done public comment.
Yes, we did. I'm sorry.
Unless there's other.
Ruben, was that it?
We're only the 3.
Well, you know
on the
what?
list.
So that people can't say that we didn't do what we had to do, does anybody else from the audience have any comments?
Nobody?
All right, so it's on record that we put it out there. We'd like comments from the public, and nobody said anything.
Thank you.
All right? Okay.
So at this point in time, you have to consider item number 7, which is your tax levy for approval.
Thank you, sir. So consider for approval ordinance 21-055, an ordinance for the levy and collection of taxes for the village of Homer Glen, Will County, Illinois, for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2021, and ending April 30th, 2022. This ordinance, as written, levies $1,500,000, which is the same amount from last year, no increase. Please note this amount is not in addition to the item number 6. This is an alternative option for consideration.
Need a motion.
May I have a motion?
Wait, can I motion to amend the attachments?
Yes.
Thank you. I would like to remove those. I don't see how they apply.
1, 2, and 3.
I will second that.
You're moving to remove the attachments to the ordinance?
Yes.
Which have no reference in the ordinance?
Right.
Okay.
2 and 3.
Yes, 1, 2, and 3.
And if I'm to be correct to understand this, ordinance 21055, the 3 attachments that are attached to this will not be any representation towards the passing of the ordinance itself. They will be removed. Correct?
That is the motion being made, is to remove them because they are not referenced in the ordinance at all.
Correct.
So you have a motion and a second to remove the 3 attachments.
I need a motion.
I motioned.
We motioned.
Second?
And I
Did you
second.
second?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Discussion.
Trustee Consolino made the motion. Trustee La Ha, excuse me, Trustee Fialko made the second. So you should call the roll on that.
So there's no discussion.
I do want to, we should make this abundantly clear. This is the same tax levy that the previous board gave.
You're just acting at this.
Oh, just acting, I'm sorry, okay. I thought we're just going to, okay, no. I'm good. Sorry, I'm ahead of myself.
Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Trustee La Ha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
And Trustee Reynders?
Aye.
Now back to the motion for 7.
Now, the main motion, which is, did you make that?
Nobody made it at this time.
Nobody seconded it?
Nobody made them.
Okay, someone
So
needs
can I
to
get a
make
motion,
the
please?
main motion at this,
So moved.
Second.
and that is
Discussion.
there.
So what we were going to reiterate here is, in layman terms, this is the same exact levy that was imposed on Homer Glen last year, December 9th, 2020, by the previous board for the road district. There will be 0 increase to this levy. This is the option that we chose as a board.
Carmen Morella, could you please come up to the podium? I've got one quick question.
And Brent, if
last
you want to
year-
answer anything too.
Last year, when we spoke about, or when this was brought up on December...
Can we introduce Mr.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Murr, can we give his position and title so that the people watching know who Mr. Murr is?
You should ask permission of the chair to allow the gentleman
May
to
I
speak.
call up
Yes, sir, you may, as long as you give him a warning introduction.
The Township Assessor, starting on January 1st,
Correct.
2022.
Yes.
Thank you for coming up to the podium, sir. What I would like is just one number. How much have the taxes been reduced on the township side for the portion that we took over as the road district?
I can answer. The township side was about $260,000 for the township itself. And then I think the best person to ask for the road district would be Brett. But it was considerably something. Brett, can you help me out with 3.7 million. Yeah. Oh, 1.7. Sorry. Yeah, 1.7 million.
All right.
1.5 was road and bridge. I don't have all my numbers in front of me, but
3.2.
And Brent, do you have the total right off the top of your head?
so the total reduction for year-over-year levy, and I know this number because I've crunched it in my head many times, is there's a total savings of about $3.5 million
Okay.
of total levy reduction from previous year of 2020 to this year of,
All right.
that is the total reduction. Because you go from 6.8 million to $3.2 million levy this year.
So that reduction, I just want the public to know that last year on December 9th, that was double taxation for that year. So you had $1,500 coming from $1.5 million coming from this side. That was double taxation for that year. Now, with us, with the reduction, with the road district and with the township, that brings it down to the $3 million some that you're talking about. We are only keeping the 1.5 that's on there, and you will see a reduction between both the township and the village when you add it up and you look at those line items on your tax bill. Am I correct in saying that, sir?
Correct. Yeah.
Mr. Morello, I was going to say, please let Mr. Porfilio speak as well.
Brent Porfilio, Homer Township Highway Commissioner. So the portion of the tax bill last year from the levy that Homer Glen paid was about $3 million. This year it's going to be about $1 million. So you're saving $2 million. So overall, if you look at the combined levy between what the Homer Glen Village Board is incorporating onto the village and what I incorporate on the village, it dropped. Combined, it isn't the same thing. So when you say we didn't raise your taxes, you actually lowered the taxes if you look at the comprehensive tax levies that both of us incorporated into the village.
Yeah, totally.
Wait, Mr. Porfilio, Road Commissioner Porfilio, can you please explain to us how much we received in the half share from the township for 2021?
So last year, the village got is 1.4 million, around 1.4 million as their share. This coming year, they're going to get about 435,000, somewhere in that ballpark. So they're getting $1 million less, but they're saving more than that with the combined taxes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Anybody? So that was discussion. Let's call the
Call the
roll.
vote.
Trustee La Ha?
Aye.
Trustee Fialko?
Aye.
Trustee Consolino?
Aye.
Trustee Reynders? Aye. And Trustee Pazmino?
Aye.
Or, I'm sorry, Temp.
Trustee's good.
Okay.
I don't like that. All right. Excuse me. So item 10, executive session.
Does anybody want to go in exec?